Hi, I'm Mark Errol. I'm the co-owner of Plow Gallery in Tifton, Georgia, but I'm also a lecturer here at Valdosta State University in the Department of Art and Design. I teach ceramics, 3D design, and senior capstone classes. And I want to talk about legacy through the idea of arts in small towns. So when I moved to Georgia from Florida to go to grad school, I met somebody who lived in Tifton, and in a conversation the first night, the first thing he expressed to me was that there was this arts festival that had happened in Tifton, Georgia for over 30 years, and the impact it had had on that community. It was called the Love Affair, and in 2008, due to the economic downturn, they had to cancel any further love affairs. And it was the sadness in that voice and the kind of understanding that this had been something that had grown over 30 years, had impacted many people. That I thought like, wow, maybe I could move to a small town. I'm a city boy. I grew up in New York City. I lived in Miami. I lived in Atlanta, and now I'm going to move to a small town in South Georgia and see where life goes. But I was really influenced by the idea that this thing had grown from somebody starting it. And to me, that's what legacy is. Legacy is taking something that other people don't necessarily know they need, that they want, and see it grow in a beautiful way. And when I heard that it had gone away, I wanted to contribute to that. So I'm going to read this little quote from the Georgia Council for the Arts, but it says, "Georgia's creative economy not only contributes to the state's bottom line, but also draws millions of tourists each year, adds significantly to the quality of life and vitality of every community, and represents the bulk of Georgia's rich cultural identity." I didn't. Let's say that. As a city boy, I didn't think of Georgia as a place of the arts. I was kind of blind to the fact. And now that I'm living here, I'm really kind of embarrassed by the fact that I thought like a true city boy. So in 2014, I graduated from Georgia State University, and I moved to Tifton. I had fallen in love with this person, and he told me that, why don't we start a little studio? And I found this, literally the day after I moved to Tifton, I found a little storefront around the corner from our house, behind a Sherwin-Williams, tucked away. And I started a little studio, and it was tiny. That's the whole thing. And it was our gallery, and it was our studio. And the first thing we did was put out some, feelers. Hey, we've got a studio here in town. And amazingly, people started showing up nonstop, and it was great. Only problem was I couldn't keep up making my own work to fill the space because I was also teaching at Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College in Tifton. And I was trying to keep making work. So this space represents the gallery and the studio. And right away we said, well, let's see if we can get some other people to get involved. So we invited artists to send us work, and they started sharing their work with us. And the community came out in droves. This picture just represents an idea that kind of became obvious to us, was that we needed to expand. Every time we'd have an opening, we could only have a few people inside the doors. And that was a fun kind of realization that the arts were being missed in our town, and we wanted to contribute to that in a big way. So in 2017, we closed the other space and moved around the corner to now this space. And I'm really excited to share this with you. We went from about 350 square feet to 3,000 square feet. And the only reason that's possible is because people support the arts in our community. And that was evidence from the Love Affair. People were telling us that, we need places to go see art. We needed to be challenged about what's new in art. And we were bringing in something different. So we started putting on exhibitions. The old space didn't allow for exhibitions the way it was, because when you have 7 people in a room, there's only so much you can see. But now we had 3 spaces where we could put on exhibitions, and we started inviting artists from all over the country, and we started getting contacted about arts in our community to put on exhibitions. Now we have a space that we can showcase artists from all over the country. We show wood, ceramics, fibers, jewelry, painting, photography. We've even put on performances. We try to show the work of people that are underserved in our community. We try to show student work. We try to also bring in the idea that people who are not feeling like they can connect to the arts, that this is a place for them. I think legacy is about changing the idea of what something is perceived also to bring in more, to build community. So here we have Jess Jones, an artist out of Atlanta who makes quilts. And the quilts basically are talking about the agricultural and the land masses that she was studying. And by changing the perception of what quilts were for our community, we were bringing in a new audience, but not eliminating an audience also. Quilts are something that were very prevalent in Tifton. Why not just show them a new version of it? We also had artists from Atlanta named Ruth Stanford who came in and stayed with us for about for 2 days, and made photographs based on our community. In exchange, she used agricultural materials, which are plastics for greenhouses, and she made these light boxes of images that showed our community what was going on in our town. It glowed from the road, it drew people in when they drove by at night, and they wanted to know what was going on. In addition to building inside the gallery, because it's always hard to get people to come into a space, they don't think it's for them. They have been raised to think that arts are things that other people do. And it is our job, and what I think a part of legacy, is to break down those barriers. I mean, I have a 120-pound bulldog that runs around in our gallery. If that doesn't tell you we're just kind of, low-key about this stuff, I don't know what will. But one of the things that we really wanted to do was bring the arts outside so that people knew it was for them as well. So we contacted families that we knew in the area that had children, and we got them to skip school, sorry about that, and come and paint polka dots on the fence that borders our gallery. It's seen from a main road. And when we were painting, we had started this mural project with an artist named Kurt Anderson. Kurt came down and created these creatures that he was putting on barns all over North Carolina with the children. And it was really wonderful to see the children interacting, making art, being a part of the community. But also it got the families who didn't know that this was something that they could be a part of. While the kids were painting, the families were inside, and now they come back. Those children will then share that as part of their legacy of growing up in Tifton, about engaging with the arts. That's the important part of the arts, is to get people started early, at any stage actually, to know that it's for them. So right now, that space has allowed us to represent over 85 artists, local and regional and national. We've put on over 35 exhibitions, artist talks, lectures that are always free to the public. We have a series called Artists on the Porch. We've put on 2 public arts projects. We still do private lessons, date nights, and multiple workshops all the time. In 2019, I was able to work with the city of Tifton, and that's another part. When you're trying to do something different, you have to explain it. You have to take the time to let them understand what you're trying to do. I'm very fortunate. My landlord lives across the street from the gallery, and he always says, ask for forgiveness, not permission. He's also the lawyer for the town, so that helps. But the point is that he really wants to see arts in our town, so he's always telling us, go for it, go for it, go for it. So when I said I'm going to be contacting this artist, Mike Saul, to bring a project down, it's 4,000 pounds, 15 feet tall, and it's going to sit outside in our gallery in the historic district. He said, yeah, okay, go ahead, But I had to explain to the city of Tifton what I was doing, and I said, please, just trust me. If you don't like it, we'll move it. So the city of Tifton volunteered their crane, and the gentlemen there were just looking and shaking their heads saying, what did we get ourselves into today? But they came, they stood it up, and what it is, it sits outside the gallery because, again, public art allows people to come at their own time, brings it, allows them to feel like it's on their terms. So this sculpture called Day and Night, one side is open to the sky, the other side is domed and drilled with the holes with the constellation of the artist's birthday. And it's a contemplative spot. You can go in anytime, 7 days a week. And we find people in there at all times. We get there sometimes at night to take pictures, and there's people coming out. It's wonderful. We find children in there thinking it's a rocket, and we've had people stop and ask if we're smoking meats in it. But the point is, they're stopping and asking. They're engaging when they probably never would have before because they didn't think it was for them. We've brought in lots of different community organizations to engage in the project, and it's been wonderful. If you visit our website, you can see that my husband has photographed it for the 1,000 days we've had it, and they're all posted on our website. The other things that we do with Plow Galleries, we've brought students from here who are excelling in ceramics or interested in art education to come up and engage, and Plow Gallery sponsors them to come up and interact with our community through public art displays and education, which we think are super important. And then I want to talk about legacy through the terms of how I felt about legacy. I'm sorry, I get a little emotional about this because it's really life-changing. And that's what I think this is about. When I was a young ceramic student in upstate New York, I was studying ceramics through the lens of the idea that it was what other people did. I hadn't found my voice in the material yet. And a friend showed me the work of this artist, Kathy King, and it, again, challenged gender and identity, and it was all the things that I wanted to talk about in my work but hadn't been exposed to. And it was then that I had that aha moment that a lot of us as artists are waiting for or searching for. And I started making that work, and years later I became familiar with Kathy in a friendly way. And when we started the gallery, I said, I got this bucket list. I want to invite Kathy to participate in our gallery so that people can see that your heroes can become part of the conversation. So Kathy now teaches at a little place called Harvard. And she came down and she put on an exhibition with us. She spent time with our community. But what that did is it showed my students, it showed our community that this is possible, that the arts aren't exclusive if you don't make it exclusive. So here's Kathy with my husband and I in our gallery. Promise I won't sound like a crying baby up here. We still put on arts on the porch. This is a Valdosta artist named Dave Richards who was turning wood on our porch free for our community. And I want to finish with this part of that legacy of Kathy King. When we got the space, one of the rooms we decided was going to be for the community, and it was going to be an artist in residence space. So right away, we dedicated one room free of charge to an artist that wanted to come and work in that space for free. They could do whatever they wanted. The only thing they had to do was be present and talk to the community and help us with the gallery in times when we needed it. One of my first students in Georgia was at ABAC, was this student named Shelby Evans. Shelby came to us and was talking about this space and just wanted to know about it. And then quietly, she just kind of raised her hand and said, could I be the first resident? And we looked at each other like, what? You don't really make art? And she says, I didn't know I could make art because I grew up in a small town in South Georgia and I didn't think it was for me. And now I want to make art and I want to work here. And so for a year, she worked in that space and she made a mess and she was amazing. And halfway through that process, she quietly applied to grad school. And I didn't know it was going to be for the arts necessarily. And in May, she's graduating with her MFA from Florida State University. And I feel like that's what legacy is, that we provided a space to somebody who didn't know that it was for them. They're following their dream, and they're going to go on and turn that around into something for their community, because that's what Shelby does. She's amazing. So thank you so much. If you're interested in following our gallery, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. And we're open most days from 10 to 6 or by appointment. And I hope you guys understand that art is for everyone. Thank you.